Hey everyone, this is Chandra with Wild Root and Longleaf Botanicals. So I've been doing several different backyard weed videos, kind of identifying plants that are edible and medicinal, just that are growing in your own backyard. And this video is going to be a little bit longer. I want to just look at a very small square footage area, and we're going to identify, I'm going to show you about 10 different plants that are medicinal or edible. There's actually identified over 16 in just a few minutes just standing here, and it was kind of amazing. So I get asked the question all the time, how do I get started with wild foraging and harvesting plants for my own plant medicine? And it's very simple, really. You just start learning one plant at a time. And that's what I called my channel, One Plant at a Time. And that's what it's all about. So you're going to take time to learn about one plant and learn what it looks like, what its actions are, learn when's the best time to harvest it, what you can actually use it for, how to prepare it. And you just build on that. And before you know it, you're going to learn so many plants. You're going to have so many plants in your mental library. But I'm going to flip the camera around because I want to show you this debris pile behind me. And this is where we're going to be exploring and talking about these herbs. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this debris pile right here. This is literally where the guys who take care of the property, they have just been dumping stuff, just like tree limbs and debris. That's all. And of course there's a wheelbarrow there, which I have used. Anyway, yeah, so I was standing out here because I've been trying to inventory as many plants as I can. So I'm going to introduce you to about 10 different plants really quickly. And we're just going to go over the actions, and you can check these out. This is a great time of year to look for plants that are popping up, trying to discover new things. And one of my biggest passions is trying to find plants that can be substituted or used interchangeably with Chinese herbs. And obviously we have a lot of herbs that are invasive that are actually considered Chinese medicine, and they're excellent, excellent plant medicine. Lots of great Western herbs too. This first plant I want to talk about is called winged sumac. You can see it has this little piece in between the leaves. That's why it's called a winged sumac. This is an astringent herb. In Chinese medicine, it's in the category of stabilizing and binding, has a cooling energy. And the parts that you would use are the bark of the root and the berries. The flowers are from a different plant, so that's something else we're going to talk about. But this is going to have berries that are going to come out, and they form like a drupe, and they're very delicious. You can make a kind of like a lemonade out of them. They're high in vitamin C, very good. One thing you want to be careful with this plant is that you don't accidentally harvest poison sumac. That would be very bad. So there's a couple different kinds of sumac. Like I said, this is a winged variety. And just be careful that you don't harvest a poisonous one. I'm going to say this debris pile is probably, I don't know, about 6 to 10 yards big. And the square footage is probably, 80 to 100 square feet. Ooh, this is the next thing I want to show you here. These are dewberries. I've been picking these for a while. They're growing all over this property. These are very prickly, but this is a great plant for both medicinally and food. So you can harvest the berries. They're delicious. Don't pay attention to that flower. That's another plant. They're so good. But the leaves are astringent, and you can use those just like red raspberry or blackberries. This plant's also in the stabilize and bind category. This right here is one of my absolute favorite plants. This is a mimosa. It's considered invasive, but it is excellent plant medicine. I think of these of like little Dr. Seuss trees. You'll see them a lot on the side of the roads in the southeast. They're also called sensitive plant and the happiness tree. Yeah, that's what they call them in China. There is actually a mimosa that is native, a native ground cover, and it's also has sensitive leaves. When you touch the leaves, they close. But so don't mistake this. The mimosa is just the common name. So the Latin is Albizia julibrizin. In TCM, which is traditional Chinese medicine, we use the flower and the bark. So the flower is He Huan Hua, and the bark is He Huan Pi. And this is in the category of nourishing the heart and calm the spirit. And it does that by soothing the liver. This is a really great plant. What I like to do with it is just once we have enough flowers have opened up, I will harvest the flowers and just simply tincture them in brandy. It's super easy, and it's a very uplifting plant. And then you can also utilize the bark. So I would just scrape some of the outer bark off of some of the twigs and also tincture that as well. And that has more of a grounding effect. So yeah, it's going to nourish the shin, which is the spirit of the heart. Beautiful. All right, we've got a little spider web here. I don't know if you can see it, but behind is a whole bunch of goldenrod. We have different goldenrod here on the property. This is a type of solidago. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. But this is a solidago species. And this is also astringent. And it's considered it would be in the category of stabilizing and binding. So it has a warm and spicy energy. You can use the leaf and the tops to make a tincture or a tea that can assist with allergies, and especially useful when there's coldness too. So, it's an astringent, so it's going to dry things up, and then it's warm and spicy. So if you've got like a cold kind of drippiness, that's going to be good for that. Okay, we're going to go back to this one, which I know many of you probably know as an invasive. It's Japanese honeysuckle. It vines all over the place. It is beautiful, very fragrant. And I don't know if when you were a kid, if you did the same thing I did, which was we pull the little stamens out of the center and you get like a little drop of nectar, and it's sweet. I know this grows all over the place. It starts to take over trees, and it can grow really high. There's actually one of the trees that was left over from Hurricane Michael. It has honeysuckle and Virginia creeper all the way up to the top. This is Lonicera japonica, and in TCM it's Jin Yin Hua. So Hua means flower. So you would use the flower of this plant, and it's in the clear heat and purge fire. You can make a simple tea with the flowers. You can also tincture them. So I would think, you would use this for anything with issues in regards to heat and toxicity. I've used this herb a lot. It's a really strong antiviral, antibacterial, anti-everything, actually. Lonicera is traditionally used in a formula called yin chow, and that is given for flu and cold symptoms with heat, not cold. But you could use this for any kind of heat symptoms. You think about sunburn or heat stroke, sores, painful swellings, infections. So also in that formula yin chow is forsythia, and forsythia and honeysuckle form what's called a dui yao, two herbs that are usually paired together. All right, so I was really excited to see this herb to leaf out. This is called a black willow. And I really think, like, you can just see how it's just coming out of the pile here. And I really don't think that the guys intended for it to continue growing. They probably cut this down, but it makes a lot of sense that it's growing here because this land is very wet. We're right next to the bay. There's a drainage ditch over here. This is right in a direct watershed that's going right out to the bay. So this is a great plant. You can use black willow the same as you would weeping willow and white willow. It's also a clear heat and purge fire plant. That's the category that it falls in. It's very cooling and bitter. You can use the bark and the leaf. And it does have the chemical constituent of salicin, which is used to make salicylic acid, which is the main ingredient in aspirin. It's just beautiful. Where is the ragweed? All right, up top here, we have some ragweed coming out. This is also called ambrosia, which always just reminds me of dessert. It's kind of weird. Basically, I was just reading, the studies have shown that global warming increases the pollen production of ragweed. Interesting. And they do actually collect the pollen commercially, and it's used in immunotherapy for allergies. So this plant is considered astringent, cooling, and anti-inflammatory. I love to make a tincture of this every year. So I wait till the flowers start to come out, and then I'll harvest the leaves and the tops with the flowers, and I make a simple fresh tincture from this. You do want to be careful with your dosing. You want to do 1 drop at a time if you're doing it in a tincture form. And just make sure that the person who is taking it can tolerate it. But I find this is very helpful with allergies. All right, here is another herb that I use a lot. Where is it? I just saw a bunch of it. Here it is, it's coming up. People find this herb to be really annoying, but it is actually a really beneficial herb. It has cute white flowers. And I've done some other little videos on this. So this is Spanish needle. They call it Spanish needle because after it flowers, it puts out these little needles that look like, they kind of look like black rice, and they just stick to your clothing. But this is the top bee crop in Florida. It's very important. It's a valuable plant. It's also, it can be used in wound healing, so you could use the leaves as like a vulnerary to put on a wound. You can eat this plant as kind of like a pot herb. It's excellent medicine. I would put this plant in the resolve toxic heat category. So once again, thinking about heat, hot, fiery things, I would say it definitely has the properties of being an antibacterial, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and it shows promise as an anti-malarial. Really important for Florida. You can see there's a lot of it coming up. I'm going to show you another plant that I have not used before, but it grows everywhere. It's actually a native of North America, and that's Virginia creeper. Oh, it's starting to get some little flowers on it. Yeah, like I said, I've never used this plant, but I started looking into it a little bit more because it's growing everywhere around here. Some basic information that I found was that it can be used to soothe poison ivy rashes, which is really amazing because it grows a lot with poison ivy. Like where I see it growing up on the fence, there's also poison ivy growing. So you'll see that a lot, like herbs where, you know, if there's something that's poisonous, the antidote is growing right next to it. I also read that First Nations people use the twigs and the bark for cough syrup, and the roots used for diarrhea. So that tells me that it's an astringent. The roots have astringent properties. So the next plant I want to show you is this guy. And y'all probably recognize that right away. That's a very invasive popcorn tree. That's what we call them down here in the Southeast. It's also called Chinese tallow. In TCM, it's called Wu Zhu Yi. Yi indicates that you use the leaf. This is considered a bitter, warm, and toxic herb. It's in the euphorbia family, so you would not use this internally. Emphasize, do not use this internally. But this has been used to expel water retention, edema, a drastic purgative, yeah, I wouldn't take it internally, resolve swellings, disperse stasis, remove toxicity, and kill parasites. This would be excellent as a salve. There's a bunch more plants out here that I didn't even cover. That was 10, but I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm going to name a few more. So this is our American beautyberry. I've been harvesting some of the leaves from this. You can eat the berries off of this. They're not very exciting, but what I like to do is harvest the leaves and tincture them in alcohol and make a bug spray out of them. Another one, this is Black Medic, and you can see it has black seeds on here. We have a native turkey tangle frog fruit here. This is our native bamboo, giant leaved bamboo. There's some Spanish moss. That's also used medicinally. Sow thistle. Lantana. Yeah, it's just wild, all the stuff that's coming up just in this little pile here. All the plants. Look at this. We have some lyre-leaf sage down here. Some grapevines. We have some sorrel. And here is some wild geranium. I feel like I could go on and on with just this pile back here, but I'm going to stop, and I hope that you enjoyed that. And if you want to see more of the backyard weeds, I'll post a link at the end of this video and in the description. I try to focus on one herb when I do those, but this I was just so fascinated that we could find so much in such a small area of square footage. So I hope you enjoy. I'll see you next time.